Hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of our speedrun against Wind, rated 1570. Who opens up with d6, so we put 2 pawns in the center. He now plays h5, confusing the audience. Simple knight development. We'll just see what he does. What is this 1600 trying to do with this pawn? Nobody knows. So I'll just develop. And now he stops to think? Who plays chess like that? What? Okay, so he develops a bishop, pins the knight. But bishop, if I can get the bishop pair as early as move 4, let's do it. And if you're not going to take the knight, why'd you spend a move putting it here? So he takes, but now we just have the bishop pair. He doesn't have a light square bishop, so if we target his light squares, he might collapse. What does that look like? It looks like bishop c4. It looks like queen b3. Bishop c4 maybe provokes e6, queen b3. Maybe he'll go rook b8, something like that. What else? Let's not overcomplicate, just develop a piece. Happens to threaten mate in 1. So if you just casually, I guess you could develop the knight in a way, but maybe boom, boom, boom. Okay, so he stops with e6 as I thought. Fine. I want to bring in more pieces. So let's bring in the knight as opposed to the queen b3. I would do queen b3 if it was a double threat, but considering it's only one threat, I'm not interested. And we'll see what he does. He's a little cramped. We have a better center, we have better development, and he keeps making pawn moves. Sure, you can attack my stuff, but so what? I'll just go to a different square. They'll still be developed, and you'll just have created weaknesses. So we can develop our bishop or castle. Let's castle. King safety, flexibility. Okay. Why'd you play this? If you're going to go c5 next. Weird, but okay. He attacks our center. I don't really care. I just want to develop, so I'm going to do that. Connect my rook, support the center. Are his rooks connected? No. It'll take 1, 2, 3, 4 moves to connect his rooks. So we're not up anything, but if we have a 4-move development advantage, that is huge. So he makes more pawn moves, further weakening his position. Fine. You could still develop. I mean, you really don't have to do anything. So let's just bring our rook in the game. Opposite is queen. Develops a bishop. Aims at the center. The center is protected, so no problems there. I'll bring my last piece into the game. Opposite is king, and he takes. Okay, so we'll take and look at our cluster and focus around the center. Very impressive, whereas his pieces, not impressive. He takes, we have to take. He just traded his only active piece, or his most active piece. I guess the knight's developed. Now he develops the other knight, but doesn't protect this pawn. And so if you're up 3 or 4 moves in development, that usually gets converted into some type of material advantage, for example, you know, 3 developing or 4 developing moves, you could say is worth a pawn, and here it is. So we could take that pawn, and that would be our win condition. So what else do we have though? You have more aggressive moves, maybe queen f6 is covered, so let's take the pawn. Pin the knight, we can double stack on the knight, and he'll run into problems. So he castles, not asking himself, what's white gonna do? So now I'm gonna go and double on the knight. He has no way of defending the knight, so it hangs. And we converted our lead in development. All we did was bring our pieces out. He forced a couple trades on his terms, and then we win a pawn in the game. Very simple, nothing fancy. And you can see how this pawn move, and this pawn move in no way help his position. I mean, you could say, oh, it covers this square, but that's irrelevant in the context of the position. And if he used those 3 turns bringing out pieces, he'd be in a much better situation. Now he's like, oops. So now we get the piece and another piece because he moved his queen to the wrong square. However, in return, he gets the bishop, but this is not anywhere nearly as good. Why? For one, we take this piece, we're ready to infiltrate and double on the 7th with queen support, so deadly, and my bishop was dominated by these pawns, so who cares if I lose it? So he moves his queen, attacks some stuff. I don't care about my pawns. I do care about his king, so I'm going to let him take this, and he'll feel good about it. But then I'm going to take on f7. He's going to give me a random check. I'm going to move my king, and I don't know what he's going to do. So let's find out. We're threatening mate in 3 with this, this, this. If he takes the rook, it's mate in 2. So he can't take. He also can't leave it here because then that's mate. So he gives the random check, and maybe, I don't know where he's going to go, but let's just move our king. I guess he goes back. Excuse me. That way he covers the h7 square from the mate in 3. I mean, it's something. We can give this check. He'll go over, check. He'll take. Okay, he doesn't do that, but isn't this checkmate? We go check, he goes over. We go check, he goes over, check. Okay, that's checkmate. So it's good to know your checkmating patterns, because then you'll know when you need to be defending those mating nets or when you can ignore it. And here you cannot ignore it. So let's take a look at that game. It was very smooth against the 1600. So I thought he was going to play some type of Pirtz or modern, but he does h5, and to my surprise, the engine says +1. I mean, I don't think h5 is the best move, but +1's a lot. In any case, we just develop. And now instead of developing, which is like a neutral good move, winning the bishop pair is not a neutral move. It's a positional advantage. So we go for the thing that's going to net us a profit. So we get the profit. Okay, we got the bishop pair. We have the light squares. We develop for free. We develop towards the center. King safety and development. Development and center. What's the best move here? d5. d5, e5. And then what? Move the queen and f4? What's their plan here? Oh, this is just slow position. I don't like this though. d5, d takes c5. Oh, maybe because After takes, he can put his knight here. I mean, but so what? We go here. Now let me see. If he takes this pawn and we take, his best move is knight e7. Yeah, it's kind of weird. So just on very basic terms, we're doing fine. We develop and protect. And then he makes this weird move which does nothing. Development, center. Now here is my one mistake, which they call a blunder. Because all I did was casually bring in my last piece, opposite is king. But I have this one opportunity to play the very forcing d takes c5. If he takes with the pawn, that's a free pawn because the knight's pinned. And he can't take with the knight because then same thing, you take the knight, the pawn is pinned. So by taking, you get a free pawn. And you're threatening d6. So that's terrible for him. Even if he ruins your pawn structure. It says it's plus 2.5 here. He has this very weak d6 square. You can't take the pawn because of the rook alignment. It's interesting. Okay, so I didn't even calculate. I just said, let me bring my last piece in the game. Of course, if this is like a, an OTB game, you have to calculate the forcing moves first, checks, captures, threats. I didn't even look at this or calculate, but if you do, you can easily see the knight and pawn are pinned to the queen. And it makes some sense. A move like e5 is interesting in that it shuts down his pieces completely and opens up this square for my knight and my queen and this threat. If he takes the back pawn, you support it. Then he takes the front pawn. Most likely takes. Let's say with the bishop. Rook fe1, and his king is just in the line of fire. So this is all kind of complicated, but at the same time, it's all based around the premise that his king is still in the center. He's undeveloped, and you should have good play even if you don't see everything right up front. But we just bring our piece in the game, and we're back to white has a better center, white has better development, white's a little better. That's kind of where we were at here. So now that we got past the blunder, which was free material, he takes, forcing us to capture. Let me turn off lines. He takes, forcing him to capture. And this is what I thought would happen. This is what did happen. Engine says, okay, you're not completely winning, but plus 0.8. Positional advantage, better position. He should have gone for the bishops, they're saying, but my light square bishop is not amazingly impressive anyway at this point. So if he does go for that, where do we put our queen though? They're all fine anywhere. Okay, but he didn't do that. He moved his other knight, trying to develop a new piece, and it goes from white's a little bit better to completely lost for black. And the reason is this pawn. He needed to move the knight to open the queen's defense. So bringing in a new piece was an automatic move, but doesn't take into account the details of the position. So we take free material with a completely winning game now. And you can see how these players collapse their own position. I don't do anything. Like, okay, I'm making solid moves, but it's still playable for black. Sure, white's better, but it's not like you just auto lose. You still have to collapse your own position as black, and they always do, right? If they play the best move, then you play something. They take, you take. They go here. I don't know. Take. Well, they can't do that because they lose the pawn again, but I don't know, some type of playable game, right? So let's say this was playable, they weren't down a pawn, then they would somehow collapse their position in a different way. They'll do this, let me get control of the d file. Like, they'll always collapse their position at some point. Opening, middle game, or end game. The more pressure you apply to them, the more you limit their pieces with prophylaxis, the more you put them in zugzwang, the more they're going to collapse their own stuff. So anyway, good luck in your chess. I'll see you in the next video.